ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sam and 64 and I'm joined alongside...
Anderson 9132, as usual.
Indeed, and we are joined by two guests from the same team. It's kind of not how we planned it, but it's how it is. Guest number one, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sam from Team Apex.
And guest number two.
Jack from Apex.
Welcome. I can't not. Hello, guys. I mean, obviously, you know, Sam, you've been on Robot Wars all 3 times now with the new series, but obviously, Tweedy, this was your first foray into the madness. How was it for you?
I mean, it's 1 and a bit. Remember, I did the pilot.
Oh, you did. You did do the pilot. I keep thinking you did that. You with Tanto or Neutron.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting what it was called.
It
then.
was Tanto at the time.
Yeah.
It was so stressful. It's like the hardest work week of your life.
I mean, I imagine it would be pretty difficult. It's a lot to do, but
most of it's doing nothing. That's the worst bit, though.
So,
as soon as you're ready, you just wait and sit and be cold in a sort of warehouse.
It is very. I mean, at least this series was a bit warmer. You know, you were in May. It was a little bit better.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but
Yeah, temperatures in Scotland were only -2 that week, so it was all good.
That's positive. It's well, it's not. It's negative still. But we'll move on to the actual heat first of all. Heat 3 of Series 10. We'll start with Battle 1, which neither of you were in, which is pretty great. We'll start with let's go with Bucky. What Bucky the robot? How do you summarize something like this as like an opponent? You know, talk us through Bucky the robot as an opponent of say Apex, for example.
it's brilliant. But I think with Apex, you just spin up and wait for it to try and bite.
Yeah, I think we really wanted to fight Bucky. We just would have gone straight in and probably hit a lot of things they didn't want us to hit. So,
I have to say, like, as machines go, it is quite novel. It is quite. To me, it seems like a machine. I love it to bits. I think, you know, the team and especially Bucky the mascot is terrifying, but I have to say, to me, it seems like a robot not designed to fight. It seems like more like a piece of engineering rather than a fighting robot. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah. I mean, first off, we thought the mascot was a strawberry for a good half a day. Couldn't quite figure out where it was coming from. Bucky was great. The actual sort of thought process behind it, and the amount of work they put in, you could really see it. Like the locking bar was a big key, and stuff like that, and it looked fantastic. And the team had put a lot of effort into it. But yeah, in terms of actual fighting robot, it probably wasn't as competitive as some other things.
Yeah.
But it was great for a TV show.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty important. You know, as much as, you know, you need the Carbides, the Apollos of this world, you also need the Buckies to make Robot Wars what it is. I feel, and I think that was a good testament to, you know, the way that the show works for me. Anderson, what did you think of Bucky?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I really wanted it to do well, but I kind of knew it wasn't going to. Although I still maintain it was robbed against Vulture, but that's an argument for another day. No, it was great fun. The team really did capture what the whole, I guess, spectacle is of the sport. Again, you need your Apollos and your Carbides, but you need, you know, I mean, Robot Wars wouldn't have been as fun without Deitor back in the day. You need robots like Bucky to keep you entertained, and it's pretty original design as well, which I like. I like originality, so 10 out of 10 for them. Really good effort.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. I mean, I can't remember who mentioned it. Someone mentioned it. I think they arrived overweight, so they were a bit out of kilter to begin with anyway. So for them to turn up and put on a decent showing, I think is, yeah, fairly respectable. Anyway, the other loser in the first fight was Track-tion. And I kind of felt bad for Track-tion because they got caught out by the fog of war early on, and then that was it really. Rapid just pounced.
Yeah, I think they hadn't had much driving experience. Obviously, they're kids. I think they were 11, 12, and I think being in that situation and everything, it is quite overwhelming. And you could see they were sort of not comfortable driving.
Plus, they could only be in the warehouse for a certain amount of time.
This is also true.
During the day.
That there was a curfew, so I think that first fight they were getting used to the machine. And Andrew, who drives Rapid, is an extremely experienced driver. He's done and won lots of amp weight competitions, and he just sort of saw an opportunity and took it, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, ultimately, Track-tion, again, much like Bucky, isn't necessarily the most competitive of robots, but I think, those guys, I think they clearly enjoyed doing Robot Wars, and I think they've definitely, to me, it seemed, got the bug for it. That's how it appeared to me.
Yeah, they were fantastic kids, absolutely fantastic, and they were so enthusiastic about every single robot, and they'd come over and ask questions, and they will be fantastic engineers one day, I'm sure.
Anderson, anything to add to Track-tion, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, fair play to the team, because they took the loss really well. They shook hands, said well done. I like the little team captain, because he even turned around and gave like a little thought saying that he believed that it was a really good educational step forward for him. So fair play to the kid for that. And unfortunately, we didn't really get to see much attraction in this battle, or at all, really. But again, for a team of kids, you've got to draw a line somewhere and say what's good for a team of kids, and this is great for a team of kids. So fair play to them again. And like you said, I think they'll be great engineers one day.
Yeah, and obviously the winner of Fight 1 was Rapid. Obviously, Craig and Sam, you guys never actually fought Rapid, but how highly do you regard it as a in terms of Robot Wars today? Obviously, we all know it's internally engineered. It's just outstanding. How practical is it?
Extremely. It's pure practicality. It's just a matter of whether they can get all the fancy custom things working or not. Like, the drive is good and reliable. It's just custom pneumatics.
Yeah, I remember last year they had, I think it was literally a bit of debris that forced them out of going to the gearbox, and it is overly complicated. It is sort of highly engineered, but everything is it's beautifully made, and everything's there for a reason, and they've thought about everything, and it showed this series. So
yeah, I mean, I know there's been a lot of almost criticism online. I'm sure everyone watching this has seen, they spent so much money, and yet it's no more effective than, say, an Eruption or so on and so forth. But the thing is, that's literally the point. The point of Rapid is, like, what could you do? If money was no object, what can you produce for Robot Wars? And I think it's a great testament to me.
Plus, there's the factor in of Eruption's been running on the live circuit for like 3-4 years now, and they've had that long to get it battle ready, and Rapid just hasn't had that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how in essentially a series they've turned it around from something that wasn't necessarily the most reliable of machines to something that will turn up and win a heat. I thought it was quite impressive personally. But I know Anderson, you're not the biggest Rapid fan, but I think what is that?
Well, I've admitted to you. Well, okay, okay, right. Cards on the table. I find it. I was originally angry because again, like everyone said, they put a lot of money into it, and the slightest thing caused it to go out. Now that they've got it working again, I'm more than willing to admit that I was wrong, and that I completely respect the robot. I mean, I'm still not the biggest fan of it, because I'm not really a big fan of grey wedges. Sorry, but I'm willing to admit.
Anderson, did you know that Tweedy's other robot is a wedge?
Yeah, well, I like. Okay, I don't hate all wedges. Grey wedges, right? Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Only grey wedges.
Only grey wedges. Grey is a boring colour. Leave me alone. Right, no. But I do respect Rapid, because it does get the job done, and it does it efficiently. I mean, it's like a bit later on we'll get on to, they noticed that the gas was leaking out, so they had to get it over and done with as quick as possible, and they did.
Well, they did do that.
It's like Razor. It's like Razor. I'm not a fan of Razor because I find it boring, but I'm willing to admit it's a good robot and it deserves respect, and it's exactly the same with Rapid. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah, in terms of the fight, there's no real discussion because it's just Rapid bullying people. Really, I think that's the only way I can really describe it. Track-tion has, got caught out by the spike and, got finished essentially, and Bucky was kind of sucking for Track-tion really. They couldn't get anywhere, and it was just kind of, but it was bullied. That's the simple way of putting it. At least it didn't die.
One thing I feel like people haven't really looked at with Bucky is it's got the Gabriel effect of it's just so awkward to fight it unless you've got something big and spinning.
Yeah, like the fact that Rapid couldn't get it over the wall and it was clamping onto the wall. I thought that was really cool. But but it's like they couldn't finish it off, and I think that's quite a good thing.
Yeah, it's quite an undervalued thing how difficult something is to fight. Like most people just think, oh, it can hit something really hard, but how are people going to deal with it?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point.
It's a bit like Stinger in the early wars. It's very hard to get a hold of.
Yeah. Sam, anything to add?
With Bucky, I think they were having a lot of trouble because it always had one wheel on the ground. If you've always got something on the ground, every time Rapid sort of got underneath, it would lean, but it was always able to sort of drive off with that one wheel. I think that's why it was able to survive so long, because there wasn't really a place that Rapid could put it other than sort of on the side of the arena wall where it couldn't it didn't have some form of mobility. And they did do fantastic to last 3 minutes with Rapid.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think ultimately Rapid was always going to win this fight, but we'll see how Bucky and Track-tion fare a little bit later. But we'll come to our next fight. I suppose we'll start with Apex. I think it's only right to start with Apex. I mean, one thing I do like about Apex. I know a lot. Again, I'm sure you've both seen. There's been a few people that have said, "Oh, it's badly designed because it's too powerful, etc., etc." I actually like it because it's so over the top. Like, of course you didn't need to build a 39 kilo spinner. Of course you didn't. But why not?
Apex is something that I wanted to be involved with from the start. Because obviously I was with Foxic in the first series, and Apex was already a design at this point. And it's just, I used to have a Beetle weight, and it never did well, and it had this hugely oversized spinner, but it's just cool. It's just that I have the biggest thing, and it is a bit of a penis contest. Mine's bigger than yours.
I have the biggest weapon.
But the way that I got pitched it is, we have an idea for a 40 kilo overhead bar, and I was just like, hell yes, I have to be involved with this.
And obviously, Tweedy, you kind of came along a bit, for this series. How, what drew you to Apex?
I mean, partly because if you've looked at every other machine I've ever built that's not heavy, I like large spinning implements.
You do? You do?
So, Apex ticks that box very handily. And it's just not boring. He says as he builds a big heavyweight wedge, but it's like, even it's designed to not be boring. Like the shape of it, it's covered in spikes, which also made it hell to carry. But
god, those spikes!
And yeah, it's just over the top.
The world's first guitar spinner.
Yeah,
That's what it is. That's a question. I'm not very clever with physics and all that because I'm an idiot. What is like the actual basis of that shape spinner? Like, does it help with balance or something? Or, I mean,
Craig drew something and said, "Sam, make that spin, please."
Yeah, we had after series 1 with Foxic, obviously we had the design, and Craig was like, "Well, do you want to design something for it?" I was like, "Yes." So he sent me this drawing, and I spent probably a couple of weeks doing something, and it was just designed to be as crazy and as chaotic as we could possibly make something. And
I was thinking it was something technical, and it was just you guys having a laugh. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, we just wanted a big single tooth bar. The whole point of it is that it is balanced, so that big sort of section is a counterweight, but it's just, it makes no sense.
I have to say, like, one thing I did like with Apex, the way it moves around the arena, it moves with a presence. Like, it's sort of like, it is big and intimidating. You don't want to, I mean, obviously you don't want to go near it because it's a big spinny thing, but the way it moves, it just looks like you really don't want to go near it. It looks kind of predatory in that way. And I quite like it.
Go near you either. It's horrible to drive.
It's yeah.
It's
We had
back
this-
heavy.
It's that, but we had this thing with the bar where, because it's quite a narrow wheelbase, when we turn the bar on, because it's on a contactor, there's no proportional control. It's on or off. So we turn it on, and we've got, I can't remember what the E-Tech is. It's like 14 kilowatt or something. And there'd just be a spark underneath the robot. The robot would turn violently. It was just the motor just going amps and just pumping as much power as it could into this bar. And that effect when you're driving it, it just wanted to go right constantly.
I mean, things didn't go right. We'll get to that later on. But we'll move on to the other team that got knocked out in this fight, Vulture. Again, another case with Black Bucket. It's a very, very pretty robot, but is it another case of style over substance?
Yes. I only say that. The only reason I say that is because it wasn't originally designed for that weapon.
Yes.
This is true.
Yeah.
You know, it was going to be a vert, but verts don't really get accepted at the moment.
It was going to be Pulsar's emo son.
Yeah, Pulsar, emo phase.
Fuck.
It's not a phase. This is who I really am.
I'm just so like sad about all these things. I need to smash some things up.
It's pretty much how it was, yeah. Vulture, I like the design of it. I like it just didn't see. I think because of the rush, they cut corners and it just wasn't. It's a solid design, but it just wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
I know they were under a lot of pressure, especially with the arm. They had a lot of troubles with the arm before their fight. They had a lot of trouble with the spinner before the fight, and they had everyone who knows about brushless in trying to fix it. And I think it was just a bit of a rush job at the end.
I love the concept of the arm spinner. I think it's a great idea. You know, it reminds me very much of like, say, the very, very original Dead Metal with the kind of over the top saw. Again, as you say, it might have been, you know, because obviously Robot Wars is all done very quickly. You know, I think it's four weeks between announcements of series, filming series. That's your time frame, and I think
I think you get about 5 weeks from being told that you're in.
Yeah. It's not long at all. It's not long at all. You know, and to come up with it, it looks fantastic. You know, as we've all said, but it's just a case of, on this occasion, it just wasn't. It was too much to do, not enough time to do it.
You want to put into perspective? It took 5 weeks to build Banshee. So there you go.
This
There's your perspective
is a good point. You know, you can build Banshee or this. Go on.
Hello.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Anyway, we'll move on to. For context here, gents, I'm not disappointed that you guys lost this fight because my favourite robot of all time is Terahertz.
It is also my favourite robot.
Yes, big up Sam. See, Sam's got the right. Anderson, you're fired. Sam, you're back on. You're here permanently.
Look, I'll be sat over here with Firestorm and the cool people, and you can go off with Santa Claus and his big pink D and all that crap. And
You can go off with the guy that actually has a running robot.
Ooh!
oh, wow.
I like the I don't like wedges likes the wedgiest wedge.
Grey wedges, man. Leave me alone.
It was nice to see Terahertz fully functional and back on song this series. You know, the last two series it's been cold and it hasn't been working properly, and it just made me so happy to see Terahertz firing on all cylinders, quite literally. It was great entertainment, and I think we really saw what Terahertz is capable of today in this heat, I think.
Yeah, it's still a really good machine. What we learnt about Nick as well is he doesn't necessarily wait for John to say hit to fire the axe. He just waits for the word hit. So they cut it out.
Was true.
But while we were in the booth, we just kept calling hit while he was near us, so he kept hitting the disc. But in the end, John had to tell him, stop, it's not me. But yeah, he just waits for the word, so if you call hit, Terahertz will fire.
Pretty much, yeah. Terahertz this series was great. He put the drive from Beta
Oh wow.
in it, which is why it had so much more drive power. It was Bosch's. I think they're 400s or GPS.
They're rewound Bosch's as well.
Rewound, yeah. They're for 14S, which is absolutely like Apex runs
12.
14S. Apex runs 12. Yeah, sorry. So he's running on his drive more than we had in our weapon, which is why it's so fast. I've never seen a wedge that steep just go under everything. It was just.
That was in the other fight. Whee! But I thought, Terahertz. This, me and Anderson last series, we kind of said, it's time for something new for Terahertz, and ultimately, I think that might still be the case, but the thing is, Terahertz is still in any other heat. It could have made the grand final. It was just that it was unlucky against Rapid, and I think that's the thing. It is still competitive, and it's difficult to know where to go from here, really. But I'm sure John's got some ideas up his sleeve.
Yeah, I mean he's a fantastic driver. He's probably the best driver in the UK at the moment, and I think that machine needs John. I think any other person you had Terahertz, it wouldn't be as good. I think he just knows how to drive that thing.
Yeah, that's fair. So talk us through the fight. I mean, what? You had one hit.
We had two hits.
I had 2 hits. Okay.
The fight got restarted after about 6 seconds.
I think it was 4 seconds on the clock, and we
that.
took out a wall panel.
Yeah, Terahertz hit us at full speed, and we went onto our side, and then the bar took us into the wall, and we took the entire panel off. They called cease, and we had about 15-20 minute wait while they fixed the panel, but they were like, that was a bit too quick, so that fight didn't happen.
So
there's actually video of it on YouTube somewhere.
There is, yeah, but we actually damaged ourselves. So if you look in all the trailers, you can see the belt coming off. That was because when we hit the wall, the bar sort of flexed enough to hit the top of our pulley.
Right.
It took the little flange off the top on the motor. So as soon as he sort of hit us again, the belt popped off. That's all it was.
Oh, so had you not hit the wall, you might have actually stood a better chance than. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is what it is.
That is a real shame. No, I'm gutted now. But anyway, I mean, it was after that moment, and obviously, that explained why Apex kind of fell apart after one hit. As it turns out, it was 2. Terahertz. It was pretty much a Terahertz masterclass, really. I mean, much like the other melee, it was one. It was like you have the big bully at school picking on the 2 nerdy kids. That's essentially what it was.
Yeah. It helps, like nothing is going to touch Terahertz's front end.
Yeah.
No.
Like they can adjust the angle of the front as well depending on opponent. They've got multiple mounting holes for it, so they can angle it depending on the angle of the blade of their opponent. So it's pretty much perfect in terms of spinner deflection as long as you can keep that front end at you.
It's crazy. I mean, Anderson, what did you make of fight? But melee 2.
Yeah, it was an alright battle. I mean, it was a bit quick, but it was alright. I mean, I did like to see. It was nice to see Terahertz back in its back on form. Basically, is what I was trying to say. Because we haven't really seen it have that much power in its axe. Literally since I'd say Series 6. On TV anyway, since Series 6 of the original run. So it was nice to see it get dumped back here.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, so Terahertz going through Vulture and Apex back into the redemption. So I think it's time for that fight.
Can we not skip that one?
What fight?
No, it happened too quickly. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Can we restart this one, please, as well? I have to say, as much as it probably pained you, it was a spectacular moment. I think we can.
It was something.
Yeah.
How much brown was there in that control pod after that?
There was many
reactions.
There was many chicken shit at that point. Just everybody. There was a lot. They've cut a lot of swearing out. There was a lot of.
I'm surprised they actually
swearing.
had enough usable footage.
Yeah, it was chaos.
And all in front of a team of 12-year-olds.
The funny thing is that we actually in the pits we sort of saw the bar was flexing a little bit just on the bushing.
Yeah, the bushing
and obviously
expanded basically where we hit.
Obviously,
so
you've
hard.
got such a big bar, it flexes. Any flex, any kind of play in that system is a bad thing. So we put like a sort of supporting wheel underneath it, and we sort of fixed down the locking collars on top so the bar didn't come off.
Yeah, we
and
drilled into the shaft.
And we
so
were
that
sure the bar
it
wasn't
had-
coming off.
Yeah.
And that's when the bar came off.
That's when the bar came off. Well, we sort of started the fight. I was doing the bar, and we sort of span up, and it wobbled. If you watch it, you can see Apex wobble ever so slightly. So I turned the bar off, and then we were like, "Well, Chris, just drive towards him, and I'll spin back up." Span back up, wobbled, and just yeah.
I mean, this, you know, obviously John Reed is famous for saying, wait for a good hit. You waited for a good hit, and, I mean, it was spectacular. It was spectacular, you know, and then...
That hit was only at like half, like I'd say around half speed as well.
Hey, we were spinning down. We were not at full speed.
I mean,
You...
my question is, okay, because you landed right way up. Were you still mobile or were you dead?
No, one motor. Well, not one motor. One of the wires had come loose on the speed controller, so we would have been moving just in a circle.
Oh wow! So it didn't kill it completely.
Oh no!
No.
Within half an hour, we were ready to fight again.
Damn, that's
Yeah, we bent the weapon motor. We bent
We
the
had
frame.
spares.
There was some 10mm hard ox forks at the front. Those sort of gold forks you can see. We hit the wall so hard we bent those at a good 45 degrees. It was insane.
wow. So that's a lot of energy. I mean, what does the future hold for Apex now? I mean,
We'll see in about 5-6 days.
where does it go from here? You know, do you go
Think so.
smaller?
We have planned, but it's kind of it's early days.
We probably should have clarified what we can and can't say with Chris and Craig.
Yeah, we're obviously not going to give loads away.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
There is ideas being thrown around.
I don't think
things.
smaller is the answer. Is
No.
the big thing.
But,
I don't think smaller, just more controllable.
Yeah, if we were to do it again, I think there'd be some sort of maybe a little less powerful. I don't know, maybe, but
Same way,
you know.
just less power. I think.
I think, you know, ultimately the spectacle of it is kind of, you know, again, what I mentioned earlier. You know, I thought that the idea of having a ridiculously big bar spin is fantastic, but I think this is a case in point of too much is too much.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Apex just got angry last time. It saw that Chris wasn't going in for the kill, so it just decided to try and throw the bar at Track-tion himself.
You're not going fast enough. Let me try.
Oh dear. Anderson, anything to add?
Well, you pretty much said it all, really. Just damn.
Yeah.
God damn. I mean, fuck.
When you think that it's 100, Apex was about 108 kilos, so sort of 70 kilos of that was the robot. It's a 25 meter arena, so the bar's gone 12 meters that way, and Apex has gone 12 meters that way. Just an absolutely insane amount of energy.
On top
What
of that as
speed
well,
was
it
that-
was,
was that
going to
roughly going?
shuffle.
Yeah,
It was going to shuffle.
I mean,
It was going to shuffle.
the original
Punch it.
the original idea was obviously going to be a shuffle bot, wasn't it? But obviously it balked, and then you ended up
It's,
with
It did more than break.
It did. We tested it the night before, and we sort of it was kind of working. Then we put it in the little test arena that has a wooden floor, and it went forwards, backwards, and then started going around in a circle. But it was punching a hole through the wooden floor.
Yeah, one set of the legs are locked up. So if you just imagine someone with like a leg firmly planted, just walking in a circle with massive stomps, pretty much what happened.
it's like an angry toddler running in circles,
It
essentially.
worked really nicely for about 4 seconds, which which I think is the story of Apex from this episode.
I was going to say, I think that should have been like a precursor and like a sign of what was to come.
The story of the Danby creations, full stop. If you ask me, I mean, I feel really bad for Craig and Chris. They had a lot of bad luck over the years. Even when because didn't the Craig enter in the first ever Antweight battle? A Robot was an Extreme 1 with Anto.
He did.
And even then, he struggled. He got KO'd in like the first 10 seconds, I think.
Yeah, he
I
did.
feel really bad for him.
What people don't see is that he's such... Obviously on TV he gets sort of represented differently, but he's such a nice guy, and he can't do enough for people. Like, he's always helping somebody.
He's the reason we're on heavyweight teams in the first place.
Exactly. He's given us loads of chances and other people loads of chances, and he's an absolutely fantastic robot designer. You see the things that he designs, and they're fantastic. But there's always that level of overkill that he's always got to have something that's stupidly too powerful, and that's where it goes wrong, unfortunately. But in terms of him and as an actual robot builder, he's probably the best.
Ambition is certainly there. I think that's a fair way of putting it. So sadly for yourselves, Apex is out and Track-tion carries on.
Wait, what?
God damn it!
I think the bar's out. Apex is still in.
Oh, it's still in the arena now.
It's a cluster bot.
We were going to have those as well if the shuffle worked. We had featherweights on the ready.
No way.
Yeah, we had them under the bench ready to go in case we had the weight bonus.
No way. That's amazing.
We ended up just having a street fight instead.
That's brilliant. Our next fight, Vulture and Bucky. This, I have to say, I was impressed that Bucky did manage to get a nice, good chew on it, halfway through the fight. But I think, is it fair to say Vulture were fairly fortunate in this fight? I think,
I feel like if Bucky could have got under them, he could have actually had that fight. Because their lids weren't thick.
No, they were 4mm Hardox, I think. Which
I don't even think they were Hardox. I thought they had like HDPE ones.
No, they were definitely Hardox because I tried to straighten it out for them.
Okay. But no, I reckon he could have at least bent it upwards or hit the link block. Like, I reckon he could have had that.
Yeah, the links were super exposed on top, and it was all 3D printed. So if Bucky had got that, it would have been quite good. The thing is with Vulture, Adam is very well known for being very good at sharpening wedges. And obviously the wedges on Vulture were super sharp. They were peeling the paint off the arena floor. So as long as they were driving, sort of Bucky would just ride up because he didn't really have any wedge to speak of, I suppose.
We were originally going to have Adam on the podcast today. Unfortunately, he was. I think he was asleep. Unfortunately, so he did.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He did. We are going to talk to him at some point later on, I think. But I think I will ask him.
Did he give a reason? Was it rum-induced coma?
I'll ask him when we talk to him. But I think it'd be interesting to see what he says about this one, because I honestly thought that Bucky was on top, and then Vulture. I wouldn't say it was a fluke. I'd say it was better driving skill on this occasion.
Oh yeah, above all, Vulture is a brilliant wedge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's brilliant. Like, it will take hits and it will just keep going. Like, it's essentially a giant version of Adam's featherweight, which does the same.
Yep.
I feel like if they had the lifter on it, like they did on the featherweight, it wouldn't have got in. But if it had, it would have done a lot better. Like, it would have been a contender for the winner of the heat if they had the lifter on it.
Yeah, because it's amnesia, isn't it? His feather.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very clever little thing. Anderson, anything to add?
No, you guys have said it all pretty much, I think. Yeah.
I want to come to you first for the next fight, Anderson.
This is becoming a recurring theme.
Because the next fight is Track-tion versus Rapid. So I'm going to come to you for some excellent fight analysis here, Anderson. Talk us through this fight.
Oh, well, I mean, this was just pure, like, so, I've never seen a fight as close as this. I mean, this is close to Splinter versus Hypnus level of back and forth action, this one. No, fuck me, Jesus Christ. Okay, fair play to Rapid here. Drove straight underneath it and launched out as quick as possible. Happy days. Over and done with. 5.6 seconds, a new record for televised fights. Obviously held by Gravity since Series 7. So for 13 years that was held, and then Rapid comes along and takes the new title. Or technically, Chronic still has it for live events for 4 seconds, but we'll blast past that.
Apparently, live events don't exist anymore. But
yeah, apparently they don't exist anymore. Yeah. So well done, Rapid.
I mean, it was good. It was good that they noticed from the start they had a gas leak, and then they thought, right, so we've got to get this over and done with, and they did. Really, that was.
They would have heard it on armour. It's like the arming up process is really awkward. You have to lean over the walls of the side of the arena. You know, like the one Aftershock hit.
Yeah.
They just raise them up, and you sort of have to lean over, so they probably would have heard a loud squealing as soon as they let the gas flow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's nothing really to talk about in terms of this fight. It was pretty convincing. I think that's the way of putting it. And then we'll move on to Vulture and Terahertz. My big gripe with this heat, more than anything, is that I would have loved to have seen Vulture take on Rapid and Track-tion take on Terahertz. But obviously, it's, that's the way the draw goes. Again, Terahertz, much like round one, just minus Apex, really.
Yeah. Terahertz is mean. That's all I've got to say. It was just like Adam is a very good driver. He's been to featherweight events. And he's very, very good. But John was just goddamn relentless in this. And if you looked at the top at Vulture, not a piece of that robot on top was straight after they came out. Everything had a bend or a slot. Even the wheels, everything was just bent, and he just didn't. He wanted it dead.
It didn't. In fairness to Vulture, it didn't die completely. It did keep going for 3 minutes, which is fairly impressive. But one thing I noticed towards the end of the fight, there's a few nicks out of Terahertz's axe from where it was getting stuck on the armour on top.
Part of that was from the first fight as well. Like, as it was stuck in Vulture, they just brought the arm over and took a little nick out of the axe. Which Jarvis was very happy about.
He was. Terahertz's axe is, I think the axe head's titanium. And then Vulture, around the sides, is Hardox. And it's one of the higher grades of Hardox, which is harder than sort of titanium. And where they're hitting it on the edge, that's the power of Terahertz's axe actually putting dents in its own axe head. It's insane.
It's kind of crazy, really. Anderson, I'll come to you again. Anything to add?
This was pure bullying. This was literally a bully cornering a robot and just smacking it one until it ended. And it was all right. Yeah, fair play. It's again, the beast has finally woken again, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, pretty fair assumption. I'm going to come to you again first for this next fight as well, Anderson. Track-tion versus Vulture.
Actually, this is now officially the quickest battle ever. It was over in negative 5 minutes. So fair play to them there.
What was the actual reason why Vulture pulled out? It was because it was a wire, wasn't it, that was stuck?
It was a wire on the motor. It had clipped. The amp flows, they have obviously the wire coming out the back, but where the case is, and it had clipped just where the case is. So they couldn't solder anything to it, so they would have had to take the whole motor out, take the back plate off, and solder to the little bit of wire they had left. And that just would have taken way too long.
So awkward at the best of times.
They're not very. They are. Yes.
One wire let the whole team down.
Yes.
That just goes to show that literally anything can happen.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assumption. Which
the exact same reason we didn't work at the end of our fight with Track-tion, just one wire.
One
wire.
Although I think they would have called it the end to our fight regardless.
Yeah, because there was a bit of an air gap in the arena. Nothing too.
Little bit.
Nothing too major. Which means Track-tion against all odds in the 10-way. God help them. I think they're going to need every bit of luck they've got, but they've managed to sort of sift their way through this heat fairly well without too much damage. So I think if they end up winning the 10-way, I think that'll be the greatest underdog story ever. And good luck to them. But I think realistically we know which way it's going to go.
I just want to see the 10-way. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh really?
No, we
had
seen
to
it.
leave.
Oh wow.
Before it happened.
We haven't seen any of the grand final or the 10-way. So.
Oh nice. Well, obviously that'll be a treat for us all. And then obviously, I have to say, what a heat final this was between Rapid and Terahertz. It was just a great fight.
It's probably one of the better heat finals that we've seen so far. I know the Apollo Behemoth one was really, really good. It was that sort of thing, but it just goes to show how good drivers both of them are, because there was for sort of minute and a half, 2 minutes, there was no sort of nobody on top.
Yeah.
Sort of clearly.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, you know, one thing I really appreciated about this was Rapid not using its flipper. Like, I know that sounds kind of strange, but like, why waste the flipper in the middle of the arena when you can just, you know, push Terahertz around and use the hazards to his advantage, which I thought was excellently done. And then
I think there was also the worry of their flipper not working for long.
I mean,
or resetting.
Yeah.
well, I was going to say, because one thing I noticed was it takes a long time for the flipper to retract. Is there a specific reason for that?
Yes.
Go
That
on.
would be it's a custom RAM, and I think it happens on all new pneumatic components anyway, but especially custom ones. Is they're not sort of seated properly, so it takes a good sort of few cycles to actually get them to be as smooth as they can be. And all the seals were fairly new, so I think they were just sticking as they were coming down, because obviously you've got the pressure of the gas behind it when it's going up, but then when it's coming down, it's pretty much just gravity pulling it down.
Okay. Huh. That's obviously a fairly interesting reason, but obviously this fight, it was great, and I think the thing that epitomised it for me was Terahertz kind of going over the kind of the handrail as well. I thought that was it was a great shot. It was just kind of like flopping down. It kind of showed maybe Red was moving to a new era of like, you know, the old guard kind of moving away. I know Terahertz is still a fantastic machine, but you know, Rapid truly is the real deal, and I'm kind of happy for those guys, because they obviously had a tough time last series. They had to pull out. It was good to show what they could do.
Yeah, I mean they just sort of outlasted the fight. Terahertz, really, it's just hitting the top, and it's not going to do much to Rapid. It's very well armoured on top. If you look closely, I noticed that Terahertz actually lost the linkage to the tail at the back. Sort of similar to what happened last year. So that actually keeps their front on the ground. So the sort of flips from Rapid and stuff actually broke that, which is why Rapid was getting the upper hand and was able to flip it out, because it could get straight underneath Terahertz at the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anderson, anything to add to Rapid versus Terahertz? I know you really enjoyed this fight.
Oh, I loved it. This is everything I love. Tactical, great driving, back and forth. Yeah, okay, I'll admit it was mostly Rapid's fight. Terahertz actually did manage to do some good damage as well. I mean, there's a shot you can quite clearly see the back of Rapid. It's got like a huge crack in it, I believe it was. It was pretty filled in. But at the end of the day, better driving obviously will prevail. And fair play to Rapid again. It proved its worth. It did its job. I especially liked it when it did that little tactic of, you know, it basically pushed Terahertz onto the forklift like twice in a row. I thought that was pretty funny. So, yeah, fair play to Rapid. Well done. Hope they do well in the grand final.
Yeah, and that pretty much wraps up Heat 3. I mean, obviously for you guys, it didn't really kind of go the way you were expecting or hoped, maybe. But I mean, did you enjoy at least, you know, going and putting on a good show?
Oh yeah, this was my first time doing Robo Wars. I absolutely loved it. I think I more loved the coming home and laying down part of it, but I mean, it was still brilliant. Like, I'd never done the full thing, so it was just good.
Yeah.
And never lost, like, obviously, because we all do the live events as well. You see everyone, like, rarely at best, so it's just good to see everyone again as well.
Yeah, Sam, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously done it more than Tweedy, and it's been fantastic every time. And it is just great to see everybody, and I spend 90% of the time just laughing. But this time especially was really, really good, because we're all, we've all got this group chat, and we've all been sort of good friends for a while, so to have all four of us there was really, really good. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. It was the most stressful and probably longest week of my life. And it was disappointing the way that it ended, but I suppose if you have to go out, you might as well go out. You might as well go out in as spectacular a fashion as possible. So
Apex the nuclear.
That moment made history in all fair. It's one of those history-making moments, I feel. People are going to be talking and remembering that for a long time.
Yeah, like you know how remember how Typhoon broke the arena? Remember how Apex broke the arena? It just destroyed itself.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
quite
it was
nice
the same.
as well.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. No, what I was going to say is I think it's quite nice because obviously there's been such a big gap since the last time Robot Wars was on air, since the reboot. I think that obviously there's going to be a lot more of a younger generation watching this, and they won't really have remembered or know anything about what originally happened. So of course, this to them is like, you know, us looking back and remembering what it was like to see Splinter versus Hypnodisc for the first time. And it's nice to know that even to the day there's moments being made, and it's not all samey, and that this show can still surprise you in the brilliant and greatest fashions possible. And I think that's a brilliant thing, and that's one of the great things about Robot Combat as a whole, really.
Yeah, I mean, we had this thing last year with the Aftershock panel.
Yeah.
And everyone went. It was the same panel that we went to.
That poor panel, man.
And that panel, it's the newest panel, and it's the first panel to get smashed. But when that happened, everyone was like, "Fuck, that's got some power to embed that in there." And then Apex was just like, "Dude, hold my beer."
Oh dear me. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up our review of Heat 3. A massive thank you to Tweedy. And I have to say, Sam, it was very, very, very last minute that you joined us. I have to say a big thank you for you to kindly step in for Adam, and we'll obviously we'll have Adam on a bit later on, and we'll talk about Vulture. But it was great to have you both on. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Problem.
Anyway, up until minute 64,
I'm Anderson 9132.
and we'll see you next week for Heat 4's review. Sayonara.